Okay, hello. All right then. Yeah, on the last week's Skype, on our UK Skype, right at the end, it was revealed by Vesna that entities have hijacked maybe up to 6 billion human vehicles. And this was following a question that I was asking about the population of the Earth and how it had been suggested that it was in fact closer to 1 billion. And then it went into the entity thing. And Vesna was saying how these entities would have no interest in real awareness, and it is only the actual humans that are left, about 1 billion, who would express a desire to pursue awareness. And can it be said, then, that the human vehicle is the position assumed when a U-turn is at a stage where potentially they may begin to seek the ears? And if these entities have hijacked human vehicles, they had not earned the position and would demonstrate possibly then no inclination to become more aware, and in fact possibly likely to react aggressively towards such information. And so I was wondering if you could discern an entity-driven vehicle based on its reaction to the new presentation information. Perhaps they would display no spark of individuality, no open-mindedness, maybe be more apathetic to the state of the world and disinterested in all things conspiratorial and paranormal.
And so that's the question, Kevin?
Yeah, I think there was possibly a question in there somewhere.
Okay, you kids are cute. Well, again, just go back to the individual, and everything is awareness. We're all awareness, no matter what it is. It's like how a butterfly flies, or a bird, or a bug, or a fish swims. And, these are just vehicles. And it's like somebody, all of a sudden getting in your car and taking off. They just decide where to go and what to do and what to think while they're driving your car, whatever, or their car, or anything. And, we, as people here on the earth, because we're subject to so much now, and we have been for the longest time, and all these ideas, the idea has been for the longest time, gee, are there people in outer space? Are there others are there others out there, you see? Well, they've always been here. They're the ones that created everything, the others out there. And so the question is put out there. It's kind of like a propaganda to make people think that. In other words, to make people think that, oh, we're humans and, we're a special variety, which, you could say that it's fine, like anything, and that, we are unique individuals here. We've been built up with all these ideas, everything but the reality of who we really are, our real awareness. And it is the real awareness, not the body, not the mind, not the brain, that makes the decision. These are all the various parts, just like in your car. Underneath the hood, you got the motor and the alternator and the power steering and all these different parts underneath there, the radiator. They're not making the decision for the car. No, you are making the decision, the real awareness. The car is just a car. And so, again, it is this outer appearance of things that is looked at instead of the real individual and the intent of that individual, you see. And so this is where the real side helps when you are dealing with relationships, and relationships are a toughie, because guess what? It's all those cute little relations, good, bad, or indifferent, that keep bringing you back here lifetime after lifetime. And people, because you're in the body and you have these senses, it's like an instinct to, look for, the idea of what we're experiencing here. There's just a natural process, we call it, to things that exist here. But we always make the determination. And so, it's not about those ideas that you mentioned. It's about the real awareness and whether a person takes over another body or not. And just like just like Paul, the idea was, especially, someone like Paul or whatever, the idea was that when Paul went on, they had the body cremated because, yes, there are strong entities. It's just like a car on the side of the road that's broken down. There are people. It's kind of like here in the United States, California. You can take a broken down car and you can take it to Mexico. Well, the Mexicans, they'll drive that car for another 20 years. They'll fix it no matter what. That's just how they are. That's just the nature of themselves. They'll fix that car where someone here may not be able to fix it, you see? But they will. It's a crack up. And they'll drive for another 20 years. Where here, it'd be squashed at the junkyard. So the body is a vehicle. That's all there is. And there are strong entities that are very determined, and they can take over things. But that's the real awareness. And them working through their body, you see? It's not the body types. And this is where the deceptors have fooled themselves too. They don't take the time to learn what's really going on, and they don't have to do all this nonsense, which encases them in worse body types. That's why they're reptilians and everything else. You have to see how creation has evolved to where, they've become swamp creatures because all they know is to destroy, to try and survive. So every lifetime becomes like another snake skin to them. They just get more deformed, like Gollum in The Lord of the Rings. He was he was one of the hobbits or whatever, but when he got the ring and the power idea, he became more and more deformed and obsessed with it because he didn't wake up to realize, hey, I don't have to do this. So again, everything's a choice. But now you know about the isness, so it's more than body type. So look at it, So when these things and these ideas come, where do these ideas relate to? And for the most part, because we're in a body world and we're being bombarded literally with all this, marketing to keep everyone one-dimensional, just thinking that they are bodies. And when you're young, hey, it looks great. It's like you're going to live forever. That was my view when I was young too. It's like, well, I don't want to grow old or whatever, but all of a sudden here I am, and it's not about that. It's about the awareness, fortunately. But most people, as long as they agree that they're the body only, then they go along the route of being the body. They grow old, they die, and then they look for another body or a situation because they'll usually pop over into the astral world, and they're in their astral body now. And so they're thinking that, oh, I'm in my soul body or whatever, but they didn't have the education to understand that there's 5 bodies that they're in, and they are the real awareness deciding. And so you look at the systems here, they don't relate to that at all because they don't want people to know. Besides, they don't know. But for sure, even, we're giving out the information here. And like Gwen was asking about, the difference here with the world and, how very few are here. Because for the most part, the world does not want to know because the world wants what it wants. And so, but again, young man, its appearances and its body types, it really doesn't matter. And so anything's going to happen. There are things happening, around your neighborhood, whatever, or next door, or your neighbors, whatever. They come out of the house, they look a particular way, but you don't know what they're doing. And for me, I'm just giving more examples here. Some people want to learn to read minds and stuff like that. I don't want to read people's minds. I don't want to know what their thoughts are or whatever. I'd rather focus on the is something real and pure that frees me from the nonsense instead of being more confined and just collecting a lot of information. And it mainly turns into drama. So again, the bodies are looked at a particular way, which is understanding body to body. But now you have the awareness to see more and compare. And so in a way, you create your own educational process as to how you're going to understand this and view it and where you stand with the whole of life, you see?
Okay, thank you, Duane. Yeah, so it's all about awareness and nothing about the vehicle. Yeah, last week it was robotic orientated questions. Now I constructed a bunch of entity related questions. So the next one in regards to that is I was wondering what was the mechanism by which entities can steal human vehicles. and I was wondering if it was along the lines that technology and Wi-Fi, etc., reduces an individual's frequency down to a range where the entities can sync with them, and then the hijack can occur like a kind of possession.
Well, again, it can be anything, and it's like people go to the junkyard and put things together and make it work. Again, I've seen many things on Facebook. There's this one African where he just went to the junkyard, got all these pieces and parts and wires and whatever, and used little water dams to create electricity for his village, his family, and whatever. I think he started off with his mother and then just went from there, and he's become his own little authority. It's really cool. In other words, anything is possible. You know, the movie Frankenstein, where he takes puts the body parts together and gets the brain and whatever. Okay, so Igor got a bad brain, but okay, what is a good brain? It's about the awareness. Well, there's entities floating around all the time. There's many individuals. There's millions of millions upon the earth that all of a sudden they've died, and all of a sudden they don't know where they're at. So they're kind of like caught between the two because of all the emotional attachments. This is like the haunted house idea, or like the Queen Mary over here. A lot of hauntings, people have seen things because these individuals are so attached to what took place. And so, but they also decide, just like in the movies, you'll see individuals, the ideas that they passed over, and they really try to manipulate material things as they do, and they really make the effort. They can do it. Certain individuals, you just practice it. It's like levitation. You can levitate. You can do whatever thing you want. You can fly in your physical body if you really practice it, if you really go through the process of doing it. And so once you do that, okay, whoopee-doo, whatever. So what does that equal? You could think you can do this or that. And there's a lot of phenomena that's going on in the world, but it has nothing to do with your real awareness. That becomes the difference. So this is what we're doing. We're making this opportunity available so that you supersede all the restrictions of the body instead of just, looking to perform more tricks here. That's all it is, and because it's in time and space. So again, it's a choice, and this is a big leap. This is a big challenge, more so than anything here. Everything here is easy. You become a doctor, you can start today. That's easy. All right, that's something easy to do. Olympic star, even at 50 or 60, that's easy compared to this. Yeah, that's nothing. Yeah, this is something else. Yes, and to maintain it. And so this is why there's the few of us here. But, anything's possible, young man. And, again, you see homeless people eating out of garbage cans. All of a sudden, they make that their meal. And it's understandable. And after a while, they're fine with it because, again, this is what they've become accustomed to. So entities, or, you call them entities, but they're really other individuals. Everybody is struggling to survive and become more aware, and they're really looking for this, but they've got to take the time. That's the toughie, is to kind of take the time, and this is where it takes lifetimes to finally put it together. We've all come across this aspects of it many times before, and eventually in our real awareness, not in the body forms, we finally come to that point. It's like, now you reference within your real awareness, which the personal mind does not see, but your real awareness does. And all of a sudden, here you are, Kevin, you see, because you've gone through millions of lifetimes to get here and to put it together in your real awareness to where that personal self now is going to help you do it, you see, and you're doing it.
Okay, yes, thank you. Yeah, I was doing a bit of further pondering on the subject of entities, and in relation to the a lot of the off-planet sort of talk that has been mentioned recently, and I was wondering if reason for that was maybe possibly a possible rescue operation. Because I was thinking along the lines of if, for example, all these individuals, these entities, suddenly turned on the remaining humans, when they perhaps reach the desired numbers, then maybe there would be a rescue operation in effect. Because I was imagining a timeline where maybe first the alternative independent media is lost due to censorship, then maybe the entities will mobilise to dispatch the remaining humans. And because obviously the surveillance has been carefully establishing who the humans are based on their awareness progression, and with no reporting of the attack, it could occur very swiftly, and humans wouldn't know of it until it was complete due to the censorship. But then the rescue mission would save the day.
And you could be the hero of that. That sounds like a strange YouTube sci-fi movie, and you could be the hero, Kevin.
Maybe.
Yes, and your parents could save you when you get too involved. So again, yes, again, anything's possible. So you're writing out this scenario, and I understand. That's the personal self. Again, eventually, this is all about focus. So for the longest time, we have this personal self, and because of everything that we've experienced, this personal self is constantly taking it in and swirling it around and looking at this. And it's your real awareness that's doing it, and you're always sorting it out. So you're making the decision to look at all these things, create whatever. And so again, many times you just you create a lot of confusion for yourself too. But again, it's what you want to do. It becomes very interesting what it is, because the isness life that's a real challenge to recognize that. But that takes care of everything. But that becomes a real challenge. But at the same time, creation, just like what I do and Kelsey and all the others, we keep busy with certain things. But there's a real focus here on the real side. And so, yeah, anything's possible. And just like in the movies, yeah, we see that. See, we've been set up by the movies to think that, oh, things can get bad, and all of a sudden we're going to be rescued. Well, the real rescuer is ourselves when we wake up to see what's taking place. It's not necessarily that the Marines are going to come in and rescue the day. Yeah, that can happen. Just like when people pray, things do happen, and all of a sudden, whoa, it's like, whoa, this thing worked. But it doesn't work every time, because it has to come through a lot of free will and decisions and likes and dislikes and whatever for things to occur accordingly, especially in anything outside of yourself. And so this is where the real awareness is actually everything, but to recognize that everything and how it relates while you're still here, that becomes very, very interesting. But those scenarios that you went through, yeah, well, it's already happening, It's already happening. People are in trouble, then they're being rescued. And it's interesting, because the world is set up like it is by the cabal and the deceptors. They create the situations, and then all of a sudden they make themselves the heroes to come in and rescue people. So it looks really good. So people keep agreeing to them, you see. And they're the ones that started the confusion in the first place. You know how hard it is to start a war? Amongst countries and whatever, that has to be a planned operation, like building a housing track or a big skyscraper. That's a planned operation, not just somebody firing the first shot and everybody gets upset and starts a war. You're looking at planned operations here, just like what you're talking about. And so, again, what makes more sense? Presenting the new you, or continually adding to the confusion? See, you decide.
Okay, thank you. I'm ordering my Flash Gordon suit as we speak. But to add a little more confusion, even more so, to the entity thing, my next question I had was, with these entities, these individuals, jumping into vehicles and positions not earned, it would be like they were cheating the whole cause and effect process. So this suggested to me there were sort of flaws or loopholes in the process of cause and effect creation that can be exploited.
Well, that's an idea. See, that's a movie idea. It's like, oh, gee, somebody's exploiting something. Well, we're all exploited here, especially with the society it is today. You're living it in the UK and the whole world. The whole world's exploited and agreeing to it. So you're already living that idea. It's not that, oh, gee, can it happen? You've been living it since you've been here. You just got to learn to recognize it. That's all. But it's already there, all over.
Okay. I was sort of wondering as well, if the entities, these individuals, know that they are in fact entities, or do they actually think they are human, or do they think at all? And because I mean, most people, as they go about their day-to-day activities, they don't really deliberate much on the fact of what they are. They don't sort of go around thinking, oh, I'm a human or I'm a reptilian. They just go about their activities and they just sort of drift around, generally oblivious. And so I was wondering if the entities sort of knew they were entities, and maybe they're just pretending to be humans, like they're demonstrating all the traits and behaviour sort of patterns that would make them seem to be human, just to trick the humans that were already here.
Do you kids, did you used to watch, you and your parents, did you used to watch Star Trek?
Yeah, we like Star Trek and the X-Files and things like that. Yeah.
Exactly. You like all this stuff. So you pick up all these ideas, okay? Because you didn't learn them in school, did you? You didn't learn about entities and this and that and aliens and whatever in school. You learned it from the TV and these shows that were on. So did I. I liked all this stuff too. I watched it in the 60s, 70s, or whenever it came out, and Mr. Spock and all these things. And so it was a big deal at the time. Again, the word entity, we use those words, and Paul used it too, and etc. They used it. The idea is that, oh, it's a disembodied entity, okay? But really describing the idea of entity is more so along the lines of an unaware individual, but it's really the awareness inside. Everybody has 5 bodies, basically, that relate to their faculties, their senses. And it accumulates here in the physical sense. And so we use the idea of entities, but these are individuals. When you go to the real side, and whoever you're meeting, these are individuals. No, I would say that, if they're reptilian, they're then in entering a human body, they know that they're reptilian, okay? And just like you, do you walk around thinking you're human? Well, if the idea comes up, and it's kind of an automatic thing. With me, I don't think of myself as human so much as that I have this body. That's more. I like the distinction of being kind of indifferent to it. All right. So it's like I have a car, or I have a bike, or I have clothes. It's kind of like that. It's not that I am the clothes, I am the bike, I am the car, you see? But people think in terms that I am the body. Well, that itself becomes a solidness, and unconsciously, because you keep considering that. And then when you go to the psychics or the psychologists or the doctors or the know-it-alls and the professors and whatever, they're going to help you confirm that, because they themselves have confirmed it. So they're just going to pass along their confirmation to you, etc. And you're going to feel good about that. It's like, oh, gee, I'm Bob, or I'm Bill, or I'm Joe, and yeah, this is me, and yeah, I can do anything in life and whatever. Yeah, until you're 90 years old and you could barely walk, and etc. And you got the breather on your back and you can't even get up, etc. That now all of a sudden things look a little bit different, and that time's coming too. So are you preparing for it? So just giving some viewpoints here, and that is that this identity thing with all these labels and that, what do they identify with? So I like to, now that I have the awareness to do that, present the reality that everyone is already a free being of real light. You see, I'm going to the end result with everybody. Now that takes recognition, and it's not like, oh, poof, it happens. No, it's a gradualness, just like in the beginning when Peter was talking about the experience in the warehouse and saw the staircase to the left and knew that there were things, behind the door. And the reason the door opened up is because there's still an attachment there to funny things occurring, you see? And so, but the stairway is there. You decide where your attention goes. There's a very good movie. I suggest you see it if you haven't. It's called Forbidden Planet. It was like in the 60s. I saw it in high school, okay? And it was about kind of like Star Trek people with a saucer landing on this planet. And there was these people there, a couple people. Walter Pidgeon was the old actor, and then this gal used to be kind of a famous actor, movie actor. They were on the planet, and they were relating to these ancient aliens that they didn't know anything about. But this guy started to use this machine there that was on the planet, and all of a sudden, he was influenced and was agreeing to a subconscious, which became an entity. They finally discovered that they called it the id, whatever. They discovered that it was his unconscious part. So again, for the most part, we are reacting to an unconsciousness. So this is where you have the opportunity to consciously decide your focus, you see? And just like Peter's experience. So now when you come back into the physical, you look at that experience objectively, and you kind of take a look at, gee, why did the door open when we wanted it closed? Yeah, you wanted it closed, but it's open because there's something unconscious there that is still interested in that, you see. But the stairway is to the left, you can go up, but the experience ends. It's simply showing you what's possible. So, yes, we're in an interesting situation here in creation, Kevin. And it's really about focus, isn't it? And what we're influenced by, and we make that choice every moment. Was there more to that question?
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah, I did watch that Forbidden Planet. I really liked it. I remember I watched it as a kid. I was a bit disappointed because when I saw it, I was rather hoping it'd be a real monster and not just a sort of subconscious thing stomping around. But nevertheless, yeah, I did see it was a good movie. I was just wondering, with all that being said, with the humans being displaced by the entities or the individuals, I'm wondering what happens, what becomes to the Utans whose vehicles have been stolen, because now they're absent a body. I'm wondering maybe if are they sort of astral prisoners, or are they simply just passing on a little quicker than anticipated and going on to their next position? And also, yeah, and that's actually the question. Yes. Yeah.
Well, you kids are fun. So the thing is that just imagine that you stop at a restaurant somewhere by the side of the road or in town or whatever, and you're eating, and all of a sudden you see your car drive off as you're looking out the window as you're sitting in the booth there. Okay, so would you think of yourself as a prisoner because of that? Or is it that now you got to walk on foot for a while? It's kind of like that. Okay, so again, yes, possession and that. And for the most part, when these things take place, it's because the individuals have opened themselves up to it. And that's where the tap line and everything comes in. Because look at what's going on today. It's like almost everybody wants to be possessed. They, especially with my daughter destroyed 2 of our computers because she downloaded so much stuff. See, and we do that personally too. We keep downloading things. We keep taking on ideas and whatever from others, or creating our own ideas, etc. We possess ourselves. It's really not about the vehicle so much, but in an objective way, that can be so. And it's to where the individual has basically given up the vehicle in their own way. So again, anything can happen. And so this is where you got to pay attention, because it is a jungle. And I've said this many times, and you see animals, not so much dogs or whatever, but any of the animals in nature, all right? But cats do it all the time. Cats, for the most part, they will, many times before they walk outside, they'll stop and they'll look around. But people don't. They just walk outside. They got their cell phones going, whatever, and somebody can come up and kidnap them. They won't even know it, you see. But the cats, see, there are predators in creation, and we've created these predators. We've been a part of it, and it's all okay. And this is where everything's okay. Now you come to the point where you realize that, okay, it's okay. I am awareness, and I am making the decision, okay? So you decide what you're going to do in creation. So what we're doing here with the new presentation is we're using a reference to go by to become more aware, to see what else is possible besides just creation. See? So that's where you utilize the vehicles accordingly. But in the meantime, hey, there's out there, I hear the sirens going all the time, whatever. There's murders, there's kidnappings, people are having heart attacks. Hey, it's called life here on Earth is going on. There's riots, there's possessions all the time. There's a possession going on here with this Skype right now. We're being watched and recorded, and etc. And so, but this is creation. But we have the awareness to make better choices and to see more, to see what's going on, so that we don't have to be influenced and we can be indifferent to the effects of it. You see, we don't have to keep trapping ourselves, and actually many times trapping others along with ourselves. So does that kind of get close to what your idea was?
Yeah, that pretty much resolves all that and settles that, I think. Yeah, but one final thing, basically, entity thing before I move on to something else was so if you had an individual, say an individual in a human body, and they were in that position because that is the position in life that they had earned, and their vehicle was as a result of all the cause and effect things that had brought them to that point, any deformities and things and situations that they had earned something, and an entity steals their body, then the entity would effectively not only hijack their body, but effectively they would be taking all the cause and effect stuff that individual had accumulated up until that point. I'm thinking, and then but then when the human was forced to exit their vehicle sort of thing and pass over to the other side, and they had not lived out the effects of their decisions because of a swifter passing over than anticipated, then would they have to instantly come back again and repeat the same life again along the same lines as you were saying when it comes to suicide? If you sort of suicide yourself, then you pop back instantly again to have to relive the same circumstances as you did before you bailed out.
Well, all this is very simple, and so again, it's choice. So, that's just like you belonging to a company, and you've worked there a long time, and all of a sudden one day the boss decides to trim things down, and you've been a faithful worker there the whole time, but he says, no, you got to go, you're fired, you're out of here, because I don't need you anymore, and you cost me too much money. So and possibly maybe he calls you back in a week and says, I changed my mind, can you come back? But all of a sudden you got a different view, thinking that, well, no, I'm looking at another job now. See, again, it's choice. And so we create moment by moment our own situations. And in the beginning there you said, well, if they take the body, do they take the karma and whatever? Well, they've already got the karma from just by the very fact of what they're doing. So whatever that entails, okay, so if the body's diseased or whatever the DNA is or what have you, yeah, they've taken that on too. you see. So it becomes very complex, all of this. And the best part is that, it's just really a big mess. Creation is really a mess. Uh, it's been made a mess, but it is very complex in itself. But there is a simplicity to it, and that's where, as you become more aware, you become more focused, and you start to experience and see the oneness of it, even though it has a complexity. It's creation that has the complexity, and the confusion is created accordingly. The natural environment, there are things going on, the oceans rising, thunderstorms, rain, etc., earthquakes, whatever. These things are going on, and if there are adjustments to be made, well, the earth itself that has an awareness in it, it will make these adjustments. But now the earth is like a prisoner because of the consciousness that has been created, etc. So again, seeing the difference between creation and the real universes, and recognizing this isness makes sense. But again, that's huge to see that. And from all that you've described, no matter what it is, you decide how to make sense of any situation. But I suggest this, yes. I too went through ideas like that. Okay, it's like, okay, well, what if this situation comes up, or what if this one comes up, and will the real guides help, or will I get this, or whatever? Well, we go through that for a while. It's like when we're little children, we ask our parents, well, what about this, mommy? And what if I go to school and the kids don't like me, or something like that? You see, we all have these little questions. But what's nice about now, right now, this very moment is that I suggest focus on what is being presented here. Make sense with your life the best you can. Simplify it, and let these ideas go that are, you might say, futuristic, because yes, as you keep pondering these things, yes, they do come about to be accordingly, unless you're going to make a movie or something like that. But I would suggest make better movies. But what you kids are doing, just by presenting this, and at the same time figuring out your personal life the best you can, and learning to recognize the difference. This is huge. This is a huge course. Again, this is where people take it for granted. They just think, oh, well, now I know I'm the real me is awareness, and that I've read the books and I know something. No, you don't. You got to get into the real part of it, and the recognition. And again, the real guides are the examples of what's going on. So the bigger part of the course is always unseen, and it's endless. So again, instead of creating ideas that really will continually confuse you, study that part of it and bring the recognition of what you're experiencing through to to share and allow yourself and others to make better choices because of what is going on in the world, because there's already enough crazy stuff that's beyond nuts, and the world's being destroyed. So I would say focus there, you see.
Okay, thank you, Duane. Yes, I'll put entities on the shelf for now with the robots.